So, because I'm still practicing guitar, because I'm taking a break from studying and from other things, I figured there isn't enough guitar videos on YouTube. Why not make another one? But in all honesty, people in my personal life have asked me, like, why do I play so fast or how do I play so fast? And really, at the end of the day, it's a few major things. First and foremost is I spend more time practicing than the average person. There are guitarists that are better and faster than me, but a lot of what they do is just more of what I do. And there's just a couple of things that I do that I think have helped me play faster than the average person. I do have some problems with my playing. I don't always play 100% accurately. Sorry, my phone's going off. That was really loud. I apologize. But here's a couple of things. Nobody really knows who I am. Nobody really knows I'm a good guitarist or anything like that. I'm not the best. So, first and foremost, anything that you want to play fast, any song, you have to play it over and over and over again. You have to make sure that you're learning it slow enough to be able to play it accurately. And you have to play it enough to where, and you have to push the speed enough to where you can feel comfortable playing it fast. Metronomes are fairly helpful sometimes. I choose to not use a metronome until I'm very comfortable playing something, and then I worry about the timing for things. That may not be the best way to do it, but that's just how I do it. A couple of warm-ups. You can find these warm-ups for various other places, various other YouTube channels. Some warm-ups may be uniquely mine. I'm not really too sure about that. But there's a lot of guitar players. I've learned everything that I know from a lot of other people. The warm-up that I'm about to show you, I got from Mick Thompson, who is the guitar player for Slipknot, or one of the guitar players for Slipknot. This is probably the most straightforward way. I'm gonna put on a clean channel, so that way you can hear the individual notes a little bit better. But it's a very simple, very basic upfront for warm up. The way Mick Thompson plays it is. And then he plays this descending. This is a very good, very straightforward alternating picking warm-up. The way I do it, and this is something that I feel like I do a little bit better than some other guitarists. I feel like a lot of guitarists, particularly metal guitarists, they're very obsessed with down-picking as many things as possible, or they need everything to be down-picked. I'm here to tell you that that's bullshit. A lot of my picking is focused on up-picking. So what you'll see is I'll start with an up pick, and then I'll go to the next string, because for me at least, the downward motion of the pick naturally makes it easier for me to go to the next string of the fourth pick. And then I kind of just continue the same alternating pick going up the strings, which is why going up might be a little bit slower for me. But it's just an alternating pick. It's a straight down, up, down, up. That works for this one because it's four notes per string. You can do it to where your fingers are ascending for each string as you're going up, and then they're still ascending when you're going back down. But the key is to move up one fret for each time you do it. You can go, And then once you go up and down, then you can go up to the next fret. That's going to get you a little bit more practice. But you still want to have practice going up and down the fretboard. If you have big hands like me, I got pretty decent sized hands. It gets a little bit tricky when you're getting to the higher frets. And you'll naturally learn how to contort your fingers a little bit better as you're doing that. I try to do that every single day, or at least every other day. I try to do that as much as I can, because to me that's, and Mick Thompson says this best, it warms up all the fingers. It's very straightforward. It's very easy. It's the least amount of thinking that you have to do. If you only have 10 minutes, it's probably going to be the most efficient way to warm up. Then, another one of my warm-ups is very similar, but instead of four fingers, it's 2 fingers. It's 2 fingers at a time. And it's the same thing, but it's 2 notes per string. And I do that up and down. I go up to maybe about the 7th, 9th, or 12th fret, depending on how much time I have, or depending on how I'm feeling. Going up higher, the better, but you got to remember with how much warming up what you'll be doing with this, your fingers are going to get worn out a lot. It's going to cause a little bit of pain in your fingers. If you're experiencing a lot of pain, take a break so that way you're not developing too much tendon pain. But yeah, I'll do the index and the middle thing, and then I'll do the index and ring. I like to go ascending and then descending, and then when I get up here, descend when I'm going up the strings and ascend when I'm going down the strings. That way I'm kind of forcing my muscle memory to learn both. First and pinky. And then it starts to get tricky when you get rid of the first finger. Now you have the middle 2. And you want to hear for which ones you struggle with. You heard that for me, I still struggle with maintaining it going backwards with these 2 fingers. And that's just because for me, they're just kind of the hardest. For most people, I think these are going to be the hardest for you to build dexterity just using these 2 fingers, which is why a lot of guitar playing is based on the first finger. Whichever set that you're struggling with the most is the one that you want to practice the most, obviously. You want to practice it until you can get it kind of fluid with the rest of them. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why, and that's because a lot of guitar playing isn't going to be as based on those 2 fingers. And you'll kind of see what I mean when I talk about scales. And then obviously I'll do the pinky. Middle and pinky. And again, it's the same thing as the 4. I pick up and then I pick up. People don't care necessarily if you're picking up or down. A lot of people, especially people who like Metallica, think that you have to down pick everything. Playing faster means that you have to learn picking techniques that's going to make it easier for you to play. I don't down pick because I find it to be inefficient, and I don't think it sounds necessarily better. Some people will disagree. Some people will say that you have to down pick everything. Some people think it's the best way to do it. Some people think alternating picking is cheating, whatever it might be. But it's you can have a little bit more control over the ringing, and you can focus more on the notes of your left hand if you're well practiced in alternating picking with your right hand, especially, or if you're finding easier techniques for the right hand, because there's going to be a different thing. Like I like to accentuate the up pick, and that's just what naturally is easier for me. Some people might find it better. I can't really do it, but I like to focus more on the down picking. I can't really do it as well because I'm not as practiced, but other people might find that a little bit more comforting. It's whatever is a little bit more natural for your right hand to follow, and that way you can focus on the dexterity of your left hand, and that's kind of what you're trying to do. Another thing is economy picking. You might find this sort of where it's a form of combining alternating picking with similar downstroking. So like if going down is easier than just alternating between the two strings, that's what you're going to do. Economy picking is about more saving time for your right hand to kind of whatever you need. I kind of would teach this. I've tried to teach this to a couple people. People who haven't really, most people don't play guitar long enough to really get good at it, and so they kind of get frustrated and they quit. But when you're having three notes, down, up, down, see how like that downstroke sets me up for the next string? Economy picking is about trying to set up your picking for you to be more effectively picking the next string. It's not strictly alternating picking. It's whatever picking you need to do to make your current string easily fast and for you to easily access the next string. You can imagine this with a bow, how much distance you have. If you're downstroking, you might run out of downstroking when you're down here, and so you might have to upstroke for the next string. Sometimes for bow playing, you have downstroke, and if you're jumping to a string that's relatively lower, hey, you're already in a good position to be able to downstroke, so downstroking might be better. It's kind of similar, but picks are a lot more straightforward and don't require as much extreme motion. And I kind of will force myself to find the three notes of a scale. And what I'm doing is you see how I'm going? I'm going to exaggerate. See how that downstroke sets me up to the next string pretty well? And then I'm going to go up. I'm going to reverse it. So that's what economy picking is. I combine alternating picking and economy picking, where economy picking is still mostly alternating picking, but it's not so strict that you have to worry about doing an upstroke on the next string if it's not comfortable. I try to get comfortable with a little bit of both, and if there's a song that I'm trying to learn, or if I'm trying to write something that's not really cohesive that well, I spend time focusing on what's the most comfortable way, down or up, and for each particular note, so that way I can kind of worry less about what I'm doing with my right hand, and I can still focus on what I'm doing with my left hand, because the left hand is what's deciding what the notes are. The left hand is important. The right hand sets the pace. You need to have a good pacemaker for your playing hand to actually be able to sound appropriate. So to practice economy picking, I do a very similar thing, and yes, it's going to seem very familiar. Where I'm doing that down, up, down to the next string, down, up, down, 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 down, up. Because that's kind of forcing me to play the three notes, typically on an odd set of notes. Like the five notes, it's when you have an odd set of notes that you can kind of practice that. You can do that with one note, three notes, 5 notes, 7 notes, 9 notes, 11 notes per string. Doesn't really matter. It's all about making sure that your transition to the next string is fluid. And I'll start off with these 3 fingers, and then I'll move to these 3 fingers, and then I'll move to these 3 fingers, and then these 3 fingers. And I'll do that every single time. And I'll go try to go up to the 9th fret at least, if not to the 12th fret, maybe a little bit higher, depending on how I'm feeling. And then I'll do the exact same thing with a scale. I'll pick a scale. I'll pick like G Aeolian. I'll go up a scale, and then I'll try to transition. I'll try to play G Locrian. And you kind of get the picture. And then after I do all of that, then I might try to do something else. So you might have some anchoring techniques. This one I've seen getting a lot of popularity. This is a version of and these are warm-ups that I've recently learned. I think because some guitar YouTube has decided to focus on different types of warm-ups. And it's basically, this one I like the best. It's kind of the most straightforward. If I were you, starting off, probably start off towards the higher frets, because the smaller frets is going to make this a lot easier. And you're going to notice that, for me at least, the ring finger is going to be the hardest. And I imagine for most people the ring finger is going to be the hardest. But essentially, you're going to have all 4 fingers on the G string or the D string. And you're basically going to, at one at a time, you start with your index finger, move it to the high E, and then move it to the low E of whatever fret it's on, while keeping the rest of your fingers where they currently are. And people will give you a number of how many times you should do it. What I would do is I would move as slow as you need to be able to comfortably do that, because you're gonna see that me screw it up when I get to the. I can do it pretty good with my middle finger, but then when I get to my ring finger, I kind of need to slow down a little bit. It's a little bit difficult. Because my middle finger really wants to go up with it, because I think I just am practiced to have my middle finger be with my ring finger when I play. I would just go until that finger feels very, very, very fluid. And if your finger starts off very, very fluid, just do twice what you feel like you would need to do, because the more practice, the better. So, and then pinky's easy for me. If you want it harder, move it down here. I think that it's more important to be able to do it than to actually do it properly. Another thing is you can do the 3 notes at a time or 2 notes at a time while anchoring the other 2. This one's fun. Ah. And basically what I'm doing is I'm anchoring my index and my pinky to the high E string, and I'm just moving the other 2, similar to how I would for this warm-up. But I'm just doing it with the index and pinky to anchor. And you find it, I'm not moving the pinky down or anything like that, so that's why you're hearing the same note. It's very, very hard, and it requires a lot of coordination. And improving that coordination is really what's most important. These warm-ups are also going to make sure that your right hand and your left hand coordination are pretty good, because you don't want your right hand to be going so fast that your left hand can't keep up with it, and vice versa. Your left hand might be a little bit faster than your right hand. Normally that's pretty rare. But you want to make sure the timing is pretty good. These are warm-ups that are really excellent with a metronome. You can really scale up the speed. You can really practice it over and over and over again in a relatively short period of time. You can be playing 16th notes at 180 beats per minute, which is pretty... Not exactly the cleanest. I could probably work on that. I probably need to work on that a little bit. But pushing the speed once every few times is always going to do really good for you to being able to play faster. Playing metal also encourages a lot of playing very fast. While most of your fast playing is going to be with your right hand, you'll occasionally be moving a little bit quick with your left hand. But it kind of, I find metal to be very useful when it comes to timing, especially. We'll play Thunder Horse, my favorite section of Thunder Horse. Very excellent, very excellent and straightforward changing between strings with a bend. Requires a good bit of left hand dexterity, but it's not so hard that you can't learn it. And you're alternating between strings with timing slightly changing a little bit. I can do it automatically. You know, I'm not... I'm literally alternating picking, but I found a way to be able to more comfortably alternate pick. You might be able to find a different way, and I find to be that little sequence, I don't have a way to put tabs on the screen. I don't know much about computers. It's too awkward to down pick, and alternating picking is very useful, especially if you're going to use distortion. Whichever direction you're picking doesn't really matter. The direction of your picking only matters when you're having, multiple notes at a time, like power chords. Because you can very clearly hear which strings are having the more powerful stroke. And yeah, while it's true that a down stroke is going to be a little bit more powerful, it doesn't really matter when you have distortion. I mean, without looking, tell me which. You can't tell which direction you're actually picking, because the distortion is kind of making it a little bit more muddled. It's kind of compressing. I also have a compressor on, so it doesn't really matter, You can't really tell the difference. So get out of this habit of feeling like you have to downpick everything, especially if you're not already playing fast. Learning how to alternate pick and learning how to alternate pick with your left hand and learning how to pick more efficiently is going to make it astronomically easier for you to play songs faster. It's also going to make you not so worried about what somebody else is kind of doing. I'm gonna put a lyre distortion setting to kind of show you. I was supposed to learn Back in Black, the AC/DC song. Learning a song, it's complicated enough if you're not experienced, but learning how to find your own way of playing it that's more comfortable for you. Looking up different tabs, seeing how tablature is very useful for guitars. A lot of musicians and musical people are very elitist when it comes to being able to sight read. Sight reading is important, but I mean, what's more important is being able to find your own way to being able to play a song. Like if you're drumming, right? Think about a drummer and picking. Do you really care if a drummer hits a drum with their left stick or their right stick? If they're playing, whenever I would try to drum, I would hit the cymbals with my left hand, or whatever it's called, the hi-hat with my left hand, and I would be hitting the snare with my right hand because I felt that to be more comfortable because I didn't like crossing my hands as much. And people thought that was very weird, but it didn't really matter. And that's how I view picking. Learn how to learn some songs and learn how to figure out which direction of picking for which individual notes is more comfortable for you. Eventually, you're going to be able to do this very seamlessly. Some people can alternate pick everything. I can't necessarily alternate pick everything and be able to play up to the speed that I want to be able to play, but it does make it a lot simpler, and it does make it a lot easier for you to be able to find out. Another warm-up is to be able to change strings. And I think that the best warm-up is actually from a song. It's from Cliff Dover. You know, you're basically hitting the 15th fret on the E, and then the 19th fret on the B, G, and D strings, and then going back up on the 17th fret. And you're just alternating between the E string and those strings. Sounds like shit on a distortion. You can practice having an octave separation, you know, from the third fret on the A string, or the fifth fret in the G string, or any other octave. And you can practice alternating picking between the two. And you can move up a string. It's very useful to be able to do that accurately. To be able to seamlessly play not only between one string to the next string, but one string to two strings down or three strings down, without people being able to know that that's what you're doing. And learning your scales also is very useful. Practicing your scales is a very good opportunity to learn how to play very, very fast. I remember when they taught me the shapes, which they called it the A minor scale. I don't like calling it the A minor scale because they called it the A minor scale and then said I can play it anywhere on the fretboard. What it was it was one of the shapes of the major scale. But because even in high school I was doing this stuff, I was able to play it faster than everybody else. And that's an excellent way to practice, especially because with each shape, you're going to have at least two notes and no three notes. In each shape, there's one shape where there's two strings that only have two notes, but in the rest of them, there's one string that only has two notes. And so that forces you to adapt. So that you don't always have to just play three. You can change the amount of notes and which notes you're playing on each string, and it kind of forces you to adapt. And you kind of, I can do it enough to where I don't have to think about it as much of this string I'm going to down, up, down, this string I'm going to down, up, this string I'm just going to down, that string I'm just going to up if I'm doing like one note. You know, on the fly, you can kind of, with enough practice, you can just say, for this string I'm going to play two notes on this shape. For the next string I'm going to play three notes. Then the next string only has two notes for that shape. The next string has three notes, but I'm only going to play one. The next string has three notes, but I'm only going to play two. And so you kind of have to change what you're doing for each string. You can be alternating picking, or you could just be doing whatever economy picking is most comfortable. I have it to where it's almost a little bit intuitive which one I do, but I think it's very useful to change picking habits. And to be able to, you know, even if you are doing the down, up, down in the back, way back up, to be able to do that and to be able to upstroke it. You know, practicing the various iterations and trying to be creative with each of these iterations. You know, this time when I do this, I'm going to start with a downstroke. I'm going to see if I can do the entire warm up starting on a downstroke, keep maintaining my alternating picking. I'm going to see if I can economy pick while doing an upstroke. I'm going to try to have 2 consecutive downstrokes or 2 consecutive upstrokes. You know, getting comfortable changing that up to where you know and understand what you intuitively need to do for whatever particular song you're writing or you're learning or somebody's teaching you. Because outside of playing chords, which your downstrokes and your upstrokes matter because it changes the sound. You know, it's going to completely affect the sound, but for individual strings, it's whatever you have to do. Some people can fingerstyle pick it. I'm not really much of a fingerstyle player, but I can do it. And if that's your thing, you want to learn from people that can do that and how they integrate a pick in a fingers or how they only play with their fingers. You know, maybe occasionally saying like, hey, I'm going to hold on to the pick, but I'm going to try to force myself to use these fingers on these strings. Now, I haven't really done too much of that. Obviously, that sounded like shit. But hey, being creative is going to make it a lot easier for you to find new ways of practicing your picking and iterations and combinations and ways of anchoring specific fingers. As well as incorporating your picking techniques. You're always trying to incorporate some sort of picking technique so that way you can get into the habit of changing the picking techniques and you have a lot of repertoire for what you can do with your right hand, and you're trying to make sure that you have as much dexterity as possible to whichever finger you need to be able to use. You can kind of figure it out. You know, what is more comfortable for you? What's the most comfortable shape for you to be able to stretch your fingers? That's my very, very, very basic, very vague, non-tab oriented lesson. I don't know if I'm going to post a lot of guitar content or if anybody's even going to watch it. But hey, it makes me happy, so fuck off.